Assumption. An assumption is something that you believe is true but cannot prove.
I went to the cafeteria on the assumption that everyone would be there.
Barley. Barley is a grain that is used for animal feed, health food, and beer.
The farmer grew barley to feed his cows in the winter.
Beast. A beast is a large, dangerous animal.
A lion is one of the fiercest beasts on earth.
Colonel. A colonel is a military officer.
James has been given a promotion in the army. He is now a colonel.
Contagious. If a disease is contagious, it is easily carried from one person to another.
You must wear protective clothing because the patient's illness is contagious.
Corpse. A corpse is a dead body of a human.
After the accident, the corpse was taken to the hospital.
Crisis. A crisis is a situation that is extremely stressful or dangerous.
The airport workers' strike led to a crisis at the airport.
Cure. To cure means to cause an illness or injury to end or disappear.
My dentist cured me of my toothache.
Deformed. If something is deformed, it is not shaped normally and may appear ugly.
Even though the carrot was deformed, it was still safe to eat.
Discriminate. To discriminate means to judge people according to their looks.
They discriminated against her because she was different.
Embassy. An embassy is where government officials work in a foreign country.
If you lose your passport, you should contact the embassy.
Extinguish. To extinguish a fire means to make it stop.
Michael extinguished the small fire with the hose.
Flint. Flint is a hard stone that people used to make weapons for hunting.
There are a lot of flint tools in the museum.
Harass. To harass someone means to annoy or trouble them.
The children harassed their mother because they wanted her attention.
Integrate. To integrate means to join, communicate, and socialize.
Governments want immigrants to integrate with the population.
Miniature. If something is miniature, it is very small.
The boy enjoys playing with his miniature train set in his bedroom.
Nutrition. Nutrition is the process by which people use food to stay healthy.
It is important to pay attention to nutrition if you want to be an athlete.
Promptly. If something happens promptly, it happens quickly or on time.
Arrive promptly, or we won't have time to discuss everything.
Technician. A technician is a person who is skilled in electronic or mechanical work.
I need to call the technician to help me with my computer.
Tropics. The tropics are the areas of land and sea close to the equator.
People like to go to the tropics for vacation because it's warm.
Beneficial. If something is beneficial, it is good for you.
Drinking milk every day is beneficial to your bones.
Birthplace. A birthplace is a place where a person is born or where something started.
China is the birthplace of chopsticks.
Capacity. The capacity of something is the amount of things that can be put in it.
The parking lot has reached its full capacity.
Comparative. If something is comparative, it is being judged based on something else.
The money that John has is comparative to most other adults.
Comprehensive. If something is comprehensive, it has all the details about something else.
The teacher gave us a comprehensive review for the exam.
Conserve. To conserve something is to protect it from being ruined or used completely.
The group worked to conserve the beauty of Europe's national parks.
Crucial. If something is crucial, it is extremely important to another thing.
Clean air is crucial to the survival of humans, plants, and animals.
Cumulative. Cumulative describes an increase by adding one after another.
The cumulative snowfall in the area is 50 centimeters per year.
Deposit. To deposit something is to put it into a place or another thing.
I deposited the money into my bank account.
Distribute. To distribute something is to give it to a number of people.
The teacher distributed crayons and markers to his students.
Equator. The equator is an imaginary line that splits the Earth into north and south.
The equator crosses the northern part of South America.
Exotic. Exotic describes something unusual because it is from far away.
Rebecca tried many exotic foods on her trip to Africa.
Federal. If something is federal, it comes from the government of a country.
Sometimes federal laws are different from state laws.
Formation. A formation is the way that something is made.
The formation of ice happens when water freezes.
Frequency. The frequency of something is the number of times that it happens.
The frequency of rainstorms is very high, especially during the spring.
Objective. An objective is a goal or plan that someone has.
My objective this week is to finish my homework by 7:30 every night.
Oxygen. Oxygen is a gas that all living things need to breathe.
My aunt believes that the oxygen in the country is cleaner than in the city.
Rainforest. A rainforest is a forest that is in a place where it rains very often.
The rainforest is home to many animals.
Strategy. A strategy is a plan for how to do something.
The team came up with a strategy to win the game.
Wooded. If an area is wooded, it is covered with trees.
Jim and Ben decided to go hiking in the wooded area by the river.
Avail. Avail is help. It is often used in the achievement of a goal.
His studying was to no avail because he failed the test.
Expand. To expand is to become bigger in size.
A balloon will expand as you blow air into it.
Define. To define means to clearly state, show, or explain what something is.
People define success in many different ways.
Dread. To dread is to be afraid of something that could or is going to happen.
I dread the idea that I will not get into college.
Fundamental. If something is fundamental, it is a basic part of something.
The fundamental rules for basketball are easy.
Horrifying. If something is horrifying, it is frightening and very unpleasant.
There was a horrifying car accident today.
Incredulous. If someone is incredulous about something, they do not believe that it is true.
She was incredulous that monkeys could ever drive a car.
Linger. To linger is to last for a long time.
The smell of fresh cookies lingered in the bakery.
Organism. An organism is a living thing, especially a very small one.
We study the organism on the microscope.
Paraphrase. To paraphrase is to make someone else's writing or speech shorter.
The students were asked to paraphrase the story they just heard.
Plague. A plague is a serious disease that quickly spreads to many people.
A plague in Europe killed millions of people.
Presently. If something happens presently, it is happening right now.
Presently, our profits are good, but by next year, we can do even better.
Random. If something is random, it happens without any pattern or reason.
Young children often ask random questions.
Riot. A riot is a crowd that reacts to bad news by violently breaking laws.
A riot broke out after the candidate lost the election.
Scribble. To scribble is to write something quickly, without caring about how it looks.
I scribbled a rough diagram of our plan and gave it to him.
Shrine. A shrine is a religious building built to honor a person, event, or god.
He prayed at the shrine for an hour.
Solitude. Solitude is the state of being totally alone.
John lives a life of solitude because he doesn't get along well with people.
Stark. If a contrast is stark, then the things being compared are utterly different.
There is a stark contrast between their test scores.
Summon. To summon a person is to ask them to come to you.
We summoned the doctor as soon as we noticed she was sick.
Worsen. To worsen is to get worse.
The weather suddenly worsened, and we had to stay inside.
Automobile. An automobile is a car.
The first automobiles were very different from the ones that exist today.
Candidate. A candidate is a person who is competing to win something, such as a job.
Alice is the best candidate for the job.
Confidential. If something is confidential, it must be kept secret.
The information from the meeting is confidential.
Corporate. If something is corporate, it is related to a large business.
Tom enjoys working in the corporate world.
Enhance. To enhance something is to make it better.
Amy's blue shirt really enhances the color of her eyes.
Era. An era is a period of time that has something special about it.
During the medieval era, knights wore protective armor.
Guideline. A guideline is a rule about how to do something.
Before they began the project, the teacher gave them some guidelines.
Incorporate. To incorporate is to add something to another thing.
I decided to incorporate a new ingredient into my cake recipe.
Interact. To interact is to talk to or do something with another person.
The kids began to interact when the adults left the room.
Interval. An interval is the time between two things happening.
Tony rested for brief intervals while he worked in the yard.
Mobile. If something is mobile, it can be moved easily.
Mobile phones are popular because you can take them anywhere.
Modify. To modify something is to change it a little bit.
I modified my outfit by adding a belt to it.
Parallel. If two things are parallel, they are the same distance away from each other.
There are two yellow parallel lines dividing both sides of traffic.
Phenomenon. A phenomenon is something that can be seen as it is happening.
I was amazed when I saw the phenomenon of shooting stars.
Pollute. To pollute means to make air, water, or land dirty, unclean, or foul.
The careless factory polluted the river with chemicals.
Ridicule. To ridicule is to make fun of something in a mean way.
The other students ridicule Peter's foreign accent.
Solar. If something is solar, it is related to the sun.
Using solar energy is good for the environment.
Territory. A territory is a piece of land that belongs to a country but isn't a state.
Gibraltar is a territory of Great Britain.
Tournament. A tournament is a competition, usually with many people participating.
My dad is playing in a golf tournament tomorrow.
Transportation. Transportation is any type of vehicle that can carry people or things.
I don't have a car, so my normal transportation is the train.
Bill. A bill is a statement of money owed for goods or a service.
I have so many bills that I do not know how to pay for them all.
Boundary. A boundary is the line where one area of land stops and another begins.
This fence shows the boundary between our yard and yours.
Chaos. Chaos is a situation that is confusing and not ordered.
His presentation was in chaos. I couldn't understand what he meant.
Consistent. If a person is consistent, they keep the same behavior or attitude.
Sarah comes in every day and is our most consistent worker.
Cyclone. A cyclone is a large storm with heavy rain and winds that spin in a circle.
Hundreds of homes were damaged by the cyclone.
Doomed. If someone or something is doomed, they are going to fail or be destroyed.
Since I spent all my money, my date with Jane is doomed.
Heir. An heir is a person who receives money or property of someone who dies.
The princess was the heir to the king and queen's throne.
Martial. If something is martial, it is related to fighting or war.
Karate is a martial art that began many years ago in Japan.
Organic. If food is organic, it is grown without adding chemicals to it.
The organic carrots are more expensive, but they're better for you.
Poultry. Poultry is a bird, such as a chicken, that is used for meat and eggs.
He raises poultry and sells their meat for extra money.
Scramble. To scramble is to move somewhere quickly and desperately.
The hikers scrambled down the side of the hill.
Sergeant. A sergeant is a soldier or police officer of middle rank.
He was promoted to sergeant after a year in the army.
Sheer. If you describe something as sheer, it is complete and very strong.
I was impressed by her sheer dedication to jogging.
Stance. A stance is an attitude about an issue that someone states clearly.
My stance is that using oil and gas is bad for the environment.
Telegraph. A telegraph is a method of sending electric messages on wires.
In the 1900s, the telegraph was the fastest way to send a message.
Textile. Textile is cloth that has been woven or knitted.
The blue textile was going to be used to make blouses.
Tornado. A tornado is a tube-shaped formation of air that spins very quickly.
During a tornado, the safest place is to be underground.
Typhoon. A typhoon is a large tropical storm that moves in circles.
Thousands of people lost electricity after a typhoon hit Australia.
Wail. To wail is to show sadness by crying loudly.
The baby wailed because it was hungry.
Wardrobe. A wardrobe is the collection of all of a person's clothing.
She bought some new clothes to expand her wardrobe.